Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And I continue with Gabriel Knight 3, Blood of the Sacred, Blood of the Damned, Blind. I'm tracking some of the prince's men, and they went to Larry's house.
Yes?
You shouldn't be here.
We don't have a choice.
Okay, so they were using some kind of a secret handshake, which the game was very sort of prominently displaying, so I assume I have to somehow remember that. It was like they were touching thumbs, then pinkies, then like the whole hand, then they were doing sort of like a Star Trek, like spreading their fingers sort of weirdly, and then again it was the thumbs at the end. Like there were 5 sort of stages to it. I'm not sure if I'm going to remember that, but that kind of depends on in which way am I supposed to recreate that. Like what will be the available options, basically. Maybe I can somehow...
Shoot, they must be in the living room or something. Too bad. What would Prince James's 2 men want with Chester?
And clearly there's some kind of...
This house is hardly big enough for one door.
I should probably note their license plate, right? Maybe useful for something later.
What would Prince James's 2 men want with Chester? Nope, those don't work together.
Okay, apparently he claimed I don't need that.
What would Prince James's 2 men want with Chester?
Okay, so I guess I can't really do anything with that. Outside from the fact that I know he's some kind of a secret society, and they have a secret handshake. Which the game, as I said, very prominently displayed and probably expects me to remember, which it might be sorely disappointed in my mental capacity in that regard.
Maddie, dearest, I simply insist that you tell me this instant.
Gabriel, there you are.
Huh?
Oh, you naughty, naughty boy. You were supposed to meet me.
I was?
Men, they are such children. Always forgetting, n'est-ce pas?
Naturellement. Can't see the appeal myself.
I'm afraid I've started without you.
Oh, hell, that's all right. Go ahead. I wouldn't want to interrupt your conversation.
No, it's fine.
Oh, for heaven's sake, let the brute go.
Sorry, babe. I really am in the middle of something. Maybe we could get together later?
Count on it.
It's all right, Madeline. We'll change the subject. Lily gets carried away sometimes, but she doesn't mean it.
Like hell.
Well, where is your friend then, Monsieur Mosley?
Beats me. If I see him, I'll let him know you want him. You ladies take care now. Madeline looks pissed. Guess I should have taken her up on her offer, but it was just too tempting.
Wait.
God, my sense of humor can really be a burden.
I totally don't remember that. Was I supposed to, like, is this actual missable content? Was I supposed to meet her somewhere? I don't remember promising her anything like that.
Nah, I'll let Madeline deal with them. The two British lovelies are dining with Madeline.
I will actually go and look for Mosley, because I am kind of curious about what his deal is. He's clearly here on assignment himself.
That's the Mosemeister's room. He's not in there.
Who was that? There was a very prominent sound of the doors opening or closing. Well, let's see if Grace is done with the shower.
Finally, there you are. Hey, you didn't tell me Mosley was here? What a bizarre coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence.
I'm still not quite sure how it...
Hey, was just talking about the tour tomorrow. Grace is going. Are you?
Actually, it would be a good chance to do some snooping around here. Besides, it sounds like a monumental snore.
The treasure has got to fit into the case somehow.
What people think about the treasure, sure. As for the treasure itself, it sounds like a snark hunt. Right, Mose?
I don't know.
Gabriel, the kidnappers were talking about the Grail. Plus, they came here. Why would they come here unless they were connected to the treasure?
I didn't say they weren't connected. I'm just more interested in the suspects than digging around in the dirt. Right, Mose?
I don't know.
Well, I am going to figure it out.
Fine. Now, could we talk about, let's see, the case for a minute?
What's up?
I saw Madeline downstairs. She was looking for you, Mose.
Really?
Who's Madeline?
Nobody. I followed Prince James's men tonight.
Yeah? What'd they do?
First, they had a little chat with the local abbé. Accused him of taking the baby. The abbé swore the order had nothing to do with it.
The order?
Then they went to see Larry Chester out by Blanchford. The guy's supposed to be a British scholar, but Mallory and McDougal knocked on his door and gave him this weird freaking handshake.
What kind of handshake?
Let's see if I can remember it.
Yeah, I think it was sort of touching thumbs first. Then pinkies. Then like an actual handshake. Then this with like interlocking fingers. And then I guess it was the other way of, like, crushing your thumb with a thumb kind of deal.
Wow. Good eyes, bud. It's Masonic.
Masonic? As in Freemasons?
That's right, Grace.
How do you know it's Freemasons?
Oh, as a cop, you learn things.
Yeah, like the location of all the Dunkin' Donuts in town. Am I missing something? Why would Prince James send Freemasons down here?
Duh.
What? Prince James is a Freemason?
Well, how the hell would you know, Mr. New Orleans?
Well, he sent the Freemasons down here, didn't he?
Well, Prince James did say he thought the kidnapping was political. Could it have something to do with the Freemasons?
If Prince James's men are Freemasons, then what about the Abbé? Who's the order?
Someone the Masons don't trust.
Who's the natural enemy of the Freemasons?
Dolphins?
I don't think that the Masons are exactly chummy with the Vatican, if you know what I mean.
There you go. The Abbé is a priest.
Why would the Vatican kidnap a baby?
Gracie, I think you have an idealized view of the Catholic Church.
I agree. There's got to be more to the Abbey than that, if Prince James' men acted the way you say they acted.
Maybe. I'll look into it.
Hey, why don't we go down and have some dinner? Mosley was trying to talk me into it before you came back. Are you hungry?
Starved.
Cheer up. Between the Freemasons, the Order, and the night visitors, there's got to be a case in here somewhere.
That's true, Gracie. Life is good. Come on, poster boy.
Shut up, Knight.
Okay, so I am playing as Grace now. What does she have?
I got some Deutschmarks converted to francs at the airport. Not much to spend it on around here, though. Yep, that's me, all right. Nothing like Kinko's to do a girl justice. Key to the commune. I always carry my sketch pad. Well, you never know when you'll get an urge to do a Gabe as chimp doodle.
Fair enough, so let's get all of those information into the database, I guess.
It's empty. Well, that would make sense since I haven't put anything in there.
And just to check there's nothing useful or interesting in the bathroom.
That's mine. I already have my face on, believe it or not. Oh, they look kind of cute side by side like that. I already did that this morning. Gee, I wish they'd left more of those. From what Gerda tells me, Gabriel can go through 3 a day all by himself. No, I don't think I'll be needing that. I can't see how he fits his hair products in there. His hairspray alone is twice that size. I'm afraid of what I might find. This is the first time Gabriel and I have shared a sink. Good thing I had my shots last year. I already did that this morning.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, he's still out. I guess she wakes up
Our stuff. I brought it down from Prince James's house.
earlier than him.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. He looks so harmless when he's asleep, doesn't he? Oh, I think I'll let him sleep. He's not going on the tour this morning anyway. Besides, he and Mosley had a few last night.
Okay.
Our stuff. I brought it down from Prince James's house. If this were Schloss Ritter, that would be filled with Gabriel's aborted writing attempts. and letters from my mother. I got 2 fingerprint kits. Gabriel's not gonna have all the fun on this case. I'm sure glad I got that laptop. Gabriel Knight runs a monastery for training Schattenjäger monks. His mind is amazing. Oh, I would love to go spend a few months there.
New email.
Wow, that's quite a lot of options. Schattenjäger information database. Is it shared with like other, or is it just for the 2 of us? 'Cause that's a bit over the top, I think. Suspects.
We don't have any files for this case yet, but as Gabriel and I find stuff, we can scan it in.
Yeah, we do have stuff, but I guess I have to be him to put that in.
I entered these suspects last night.
Oh, I can make my own notes. That's cool, I guess. Blue sedan. So maybe he had it repainted if he has something to... although that doesn't make much sense because by all accounts he is on the same side as the prince's men. They seem to be, you know, they are all Freemasons. Oh, I can make fake IDs. Wow, that's super illegal. And also kind of cool. I can be a doctor? Sure.
I don't need to print it. I can't think of anywhere I'd use it.
Oh, okay, there are different... Coroner. Blood drive. Certified registered nurse. Man, this is super illegal but also kind of cool. But I guess I don't know about... What? Diaper specialist? Is this even a thing? How what does a diaper specialist even do?
I don't have anything to scan yet, but Sydney can handle fingerprints, license plates, Gabriel's tapes, text, and visual images. Pretty cool.
From RT Nakimura. So is that my mother? Man, it works like ass. Grace, your father had a wonderful idea. We're going to send you an early birthday present. Tickets to fly home. How does next month sound? I met the nicest boy at the Japanese Cultural Center. His name is Ryan Mikoshi. I gave him your email. Hope you don't mind. Before you start, he's very nice. He's very nice looking. And he's an electrical engineer. He works for IBM in Manhattan. I'm telling you, the girls at the center are quite interested, but I showed him your picture and told him all about you. You know I can make you sound good. Mrs. Wilkes's daughter is traveling in Europe for a year too. She's pretty but spoiled. Her parents are paying for her trip because she got accepted at Harvard Law School. But at least she's a good daughter. Now that we pay for this new email account every month, you can't write to your mother? Let me know right away about the trip. The second week of July works best because we have theater tickets before and after. We can drive over to Yale and look up some of your school friends. Maybe talk to that nice Professor Barkley. Love, Mum. What does it mean, compose?
Nah, I don't want to write anybody right now. No, thank you.
That's a bit scummy thing to do, to just ignore your own parents. Like, not generally, because let me say, like, what I'm trying to say, I have a bit of an unorthodox view of family, at least around here where I'm from, because I definitely think you should not feel obliged to stay in contact with your family just because they are your family. In fact, I think it's sometimes better for your mental health if you cut off contact with them. And I don't think they deserve respect just for being your family. I think they have to put in actual effort to be decent human beings on top of that. But what I am trying to say is, even if you do want to cut off contact with your family, I think at the very least, they deserve sort of like one stern actual message, you know, stating that intent rather than just ignoring them. Okay, that's from Ryan. Hi Grace, my name is Ryan Mikoshi. Your mother gave me your email address. She says you're taking a European sabbatical? Sounds great. I wish I could get away. I graduated my MSc 2 years ago and went to work for IBM 2 weeks later. You know how school loans can be. Anyway, your mother says that you're coming home in a few weeks, so maybe we can get together. She made you sound pretty interesting. People think I'm interesting too. What kind of person just says that outright?
I really don't want to get the guy's hopes up.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Destiny from Sea Llama. Dear Grace, of course you're welcome to join us anytime, even if your partner does not choose to do so, but I sense that you feel tied to your current situation, perhaps without a clear understanding why. Love and loyalty are precious gifts, but they must be free and open, not sources of resentment or restraint. Destiny can also be a heavy weight. And I sense your destiny is a deep one. Sometimes we must wait for the event in which we are to participate before we can move on. Let this thought give you patience. If you feel the path blocked beyond your ability to influence, you may need for fate to find a detour. Remember, we cannot control others. Our choices belong to each of us alone. I can feel you clearly and sweetly across the long miles. I know you will find your way. I only hope that our paths cross before we are both too old and wise to learn from each other. Your friend, Shadril.
I want to write back, but I need to think about what I'm going to say. Nah, I don't want to write anybody right now.
Okay, let's go Holy Grail. The original and most famous story of the Grail is in Wolfenbach's classic Parsifal. In the story, the knight Parsifal of King Arthur's court rides out in search of the legendary Holy Grail. He comes to a mysterious castle and is invited inside. There he meets Fisher King. The Fisher King suffers from a terrible wound in his thigh. Because of this infirmity, both the castle and the kingdom have fallen into disrepair and sorrow. Percival is invited to stay for a banquet. He witnesses a procession. First a squire with a bleeding lance enters. Next come two squires carrying a 10-branched candlestick. Then comes a damsel with a grail. Unfortunately, Percival fails to ask the critical question, what is the Grail and whom does it serve? Because he does not ask, he loses his chance to access the Grail and to heal the Fisher King and his land. Later in the story, Parsifal rectifies the error and wins the Grail by virtue of his pure heart. Many other authors have written of the Grail. It is said in various accounts to be a chalice, a stone and a platter. Some authors claim it is guarded by the knights in an underground cavern. Others claim it was a cup purchased by Joseph of Arimathea for the Last Supper, and later used by him in the crucifixion to capture the blood of Jesus. Some believe those who drink from the cup achieve immortality. Score 70. What does that mean? 70 Schattenjäger archives. I have no idea what that means. Let's go with vampires. Except from Dracula. Wow, that's a long excerpt. She seemed like a nightmare. She seemed like a nightmare of Lucy as she lay there. The pointed teeth, the blood-stained, voluptuous mouth, which made one shudder to see. The whole carnal and unspirited appearance, seeming like a devilish mockery of Lucy's sweet purity. Van Helsing, with his usual methodicness, began taking the various contents from the bag and placing them ready for use. First he took out a soldering iron and some plumbing solder, and then a small oil lamp, which gave out, when lit in a corner of the tomb, gas which burned at a fierce heat with a blue flame. Then his operating knives, which he placed to hand, and at last a round wooden stake, some 2.5 or 3 inches thick, with about 3 feet long. One end of it was hardened by charring in the fire, and was sharpened to a fine point. With this stake came a heavy hammer, such as in households, to be used in a coal cellar for breaking the lumps. To me, a doctor's prescriptions for work of any kind are stimulating and bracing, but the effects of those things on both Arthur and Quincy was to cause them a sort of consternation. They both, however, kept their courage and remained silent and quiet. When all was ready, Van Helsing said, "Before we do anything, let me tell you this. It is out of the lore and experience of the ancients and all those who have studied the powers of the undead. When they become such, there comes with the change the curse of immortality. They cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims and multiplying the evils of the world. For all that die from the preying of the undead become themselves undead and prey on their kind. And so the circle goes on ever widening, like the ripples from the stone thrown in the water. Friend Arthur, if you had met that kiss which you know of before poor Lucy died, or again last night when you opened your arms to her, you would in time, when you had died, have become Nosferatu, as they call it in Eastern Europe, and would for all time make more of those undeads that so have filled us with horror. The career of this unhappy dear lady but just begun. Those children whose blood she sucked are not yet so much the worse, but if she lives on, undead, more and more they lose their blood, and by her power over them, they come to her, and so she draws their blood with that so wicked mouth. But if she die in truth, then all cease. The tiny wounds of the throat disappear, and they go back to their play, unknowing ever of what has been. But the most blessed of all, when this now undead be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love shall again be free. Instead of working wickedness by night and growing more debased in assimilating of it by day, she shall take her place with the other angels, so that, my friend, it will be a blessed hand for her that shall strike the blow that sets her free. To this I am willing, but is there none amongst us who has a better right? Will it be no joy to think of hereafter in the silence of the night, when sleep is not? It is It was my hand that sent her to the stars. It was the hand of him that loved her the best, the hand of all she would herself have chosen, had it had been to her to choose. Tell me if there is one such amongst us. We all looked at Arthur. He saw it too, what we all did, the infinite kindness which suggested that he should be the hand which would restore Lucy to us as a holy and not as an unholy memory. He stepped forward and said bravely, though his hand trembled and his face was pale as snow, "My true friend, from the bottom of my broken heart, I thank you. Tell me what I am to do, and I shall not falter." Van Helsing laid a hand on his shoulder and said, "Brave lad, a moment's courage and it is done. The stake must be driven through her. It will be a fearful ordeal, but not deceived in that. Be not deceived in that. But it will only be a short time, and you will rejoice more than your pain was great. From this grim tomb you will emerge as though you tread on air, but you must not falter once you have begun. Only think that we, your true friends, are around you, and that we pray for you all the time." "Go on," said Arthur hoarsely. Tell me what I am to do. Take this stake in your left hand, ready to place the point over the heart, and the hammer in your right. Then when we begin our prayer for the dead, I shall read him. I have the book, and the others shall follow. Strike in God's name, that so all may be well with the dead that we love, and the undead pass away." Arthur took the stake and the hammer, and when once his mind was set on action, his hands never trembled and not even quivered. Van Helsing opened his missal and began to read, and Quincy and I followed as well as we could. Arthur placed the point over the heart, and I looked, and I could see its dint in the white flesh. Then he struck with all of his might. The thing in the coffin withered, and a hideous blood-curdling scream came from the opened red lips. The body shook and quivered and twisted in wild contortions. The sharp white teeth champed together till the lips were cut, and the mouth was smeared with a crimson foam. But Arthur never faltered. He looked like a figure of Thor, as his untrembling arm rose and fell, diving deeper and deeper the mercy-bearing stake, whilst the blood from the pierced heart welled and spurted up around it. His face was set, and high duty seemed to shine through it. The sight of it gave courage to us, so that our voices seemed to ring through the little vault. And then the withering and quivering of the body became less, and the teeth seemed to champ, and the face to quiver. Finally it lay still. The terrible task was over. 18th century vampire treatise translated from German. Vampirism is the act of stealing and drinking another's blood. There are creatures which drain psychic energy instead of blood, and one might argue that those creatures are vampires, but in occult circles, beings such as those are referred as succubi. For the purposes of this treatise, blood must be involved. Types of vampires. The types of vampires can be distinguished by their purpose in seeking the blood. There are three basic categories: vampires who use the blood for sustenance, vampires who use the blood to steal attributes, and vampires who use the blood to gain power over the host. For some creature, blood is the only viable source of nutrition. Like mosquitoes or leeches, they survive on the blood of the living. All blood-drinking creatures are creatures of darkness. These include demons and monsters. Many traditional vampire cases in the areas such as Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Transylvania can be regarded as demonic possession of the dead. Fortunately, this form of Sibyllin entertainment seems to be dying out those days, perhaps because demons do not care for embalming fluid. When such possession occurs, living blood is required not only to nourish the demon, but to keep the corpse from decomposing. Monsters are the result of mixing human and demon blood. Such creatures are usually, but not necessarily, evil. Due to the usually paternal demonic genetics, living blood is required to sustain life. The appearance of the monstrosities is increasingly rare. Vampires who consume blood in order to steal attributes The earliest magical religions believed that by drinking the blood of man or animal, one took on that being's traits. Many primitives still drink the blood of the bear and the lion for strength, or the antelope or deer for swiftness. Similarly, some tribes ingest the remains of the dead in order to retain their skills and spirit for the tribe. Western magicians have also been known to consume the blood of humans to steal the host's talent, wisdom, and youth and vitality. The hermetic principles between the practice bear remarkable correspondences to modern DNA theory. See blood cults, Elizabeth of Bathory, and immortality. Vampires who use the blood to gain power over the host. Blood is closely associated with a person's spirit or essence in many magical traditions. Because of this concern, some rituals involve stealing or using the blood in a manner similar to the way hair or nail clippings are used in voodoo to gain control over the subject. I will read the other entries as well for the other creatures and things. Succubus and incubus. Supernatural creatures who visit their victims through sexual dreams. Before Freud, disturbing sexual dreams were often thought to be the work of demons come to tempt devout Christians to sin. The bearer of such dreams were succubi and incubi, female and male demons respectively, who were sexually insatiable and would rape their victims via sexual dreams while they slept. As fun as this might sound, it doesn't, but you know, it could be a terrifying experience for those who believed in such things. It was believed that a visit from a succubus or an incubus would drain energy, even life, from its victim. It was a very common form of demonic possession. Blood cults. From the diary of an English adept, Rosenclain, I have heard it whispered in the highest magical circles that a cult exists whose secrecy goes beyond even the impenetrable Nine. The cult practices black magic, and in particular, a peculiar kind of blood magic. Black magic, and in particular, a peculiar kind of blood magic. They have an obscure but pernicious rumors surfaced about the existence of a blood cult, a group whose magical power revolves around the properties of the blood. Some rumors claim that this group is searching for immortality and/or heightened magical power through the manipulation of the blood by magic rite, interbreeding, and even imbibing the blood of others with desired powers or properties. Elizabeth of Bathory is a historical figure that has been compared to Jack the Ripper and Dracula, no small feat. Obsessed with remaining beautiful, Elizabeth invented a unique anti-aging formula, bathing in the blood of young virgins. She killed and tortured something like 600 girls, according to trial records, before she was finally arrested for her crimes. Her servants were burnt at the stake for their part in the dire deeds, but Elizabeth was walled up alive in Bathory Castle. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. Immortality. Immortality, or living forever, has been an age-old quest for mankind. Ever since man realized that he, like his fathers before him, would one day die, the quest to escape that sentence has been on, and it has been fraught with desperation and little success. Many religions seek to assure their followers of life beyond death, that is, of continuing life of the spirit, either through a destiny in heaven or hell, via reincarnation, back to the earthly plane. The goal of many occult traditions has been to look for immortality in here and now, not trusting the promises of the spirit world. Alchemists sought to create the philosopher's stone in order to achieve immortality. Others sought the fountain of youth or the tree of life from the Garden of Eden. In the case of the latter two, it was said that a drink or a single fruit would produce immortality. In the story of the Grail, the knights who protect the Grail were granted immortality as long as they remained in its presence. There are legends regarding immortals, men or women who have achieved immortality and who continue to walk the earth long after their time was past. See the Wandering Jew. Okay, to be honest, maybe I shouldn't be... Because there's a bajillion of those entries. Like, even just on alchemy and, like, philosophy, different things. It might take the entire... But I assume I have to read it at some point to progress the game. I probably will denote it in the description. Maybe the next episode will still be me reading all of this. Let's go with alchemy for now, I guess. Alchemy is an ancient art, especially practiced in the Middle Ages, primarily to discover a substance that would transmute common or base metals into gold or silver, and to find means of definitely prolonging human life. Even though its original purposes and techniques may have been doubtful or visionary, alchemy was the predecessor to modern chemistry. The ancient practice dates back to Egypt. It flourished in Alexandria at the same time a school of alchemy was developing in China. The early Greek philosophers wrote the first chemical theories. The theory advanced by Empedocles in the 5th century BC, that all things were composed of air, earth, fire and water, greatly influenced alchemy. Roman emperors seem to have mixed feelings about the practice. Caligula is alleged to have ordered experiments performed, attempting to produce gold from orpiment, a sulfide of arsenic, while Diocletian is said to have ordered all Egyptian works concerning silver and gold to be burned, and all such experiments stopped. The fundamental basis of alchemy rests in Aristotle's doctrine that all things tend to reach perfection. This led to the theory that gold found deep within the earth has been naturally produced from less perfect metals. The alchemist's hope was then to discover the secret of this natural process and duplicate it. The original attempts for achieving such a feat were both empirical and practical, but towards the 4th century, astrological and magical influences were becoming more dominant. But in the 13th century, the practice of alchemy took on almost a religious fervor. The skilled alchemists not only went through a rigorous apprenticeship, but also a solemn ceremony upon the completion of their training. This is seen by the influences of the Neoplatonic magic, astrology, mysticism, medicine, the esoteric doctrines of the Near East, Pythagoreanism, and Orphism, which was eventually embodied in alchemy. By their strict practices and their search for the philosopher's stone, a true alchemist endeavored to refresh and restore Earth. Because of its spiritual aspect, alchemy is still valued by many today. Is it though? Is it really? I wouldn't say it is, to be honest. Alchemy, the square. In alchemy, the square represents the quaternity and in general all 4-part concepts such as the 4 seasons and the 4 cardinal directions and the 4 stages of man. The square itself is represented by the number 4. It is solid and earthy and stable, as opposed to more dynamic, fluid, heavenly form of a circle. When the square is represented as tilted, i.e. standing on point, its meaning changes drastically from the normal square. Whereas the square represents the concepts of earthiness, solidness and permanence, the tilted square has a more dynamic, fluid meaning, akin to that of a circle. The tilted square, like the circle, has been used as a symbol of the sun and of the light in general. Squaring the circle, like the philosopher's stone, was the alchemist's dream. In the geometrical representation of squaring the circle, the square is placed so that the circle fills it maximally without breaking the square's boundaries. Symbolically, it represents the union between heaven and earth, thus bringing opposites together in a united whole, creating a kind of transcending or super consciousness. These aims and their presentation with those particular symbols were the parlance of mystics, alchemists, and Gnostics of the Middle Ages. Okay, tilted square, I read all of that. The circle. The circle is a symbol which represents a host of ideas: heaven, perfection, infinity and immortality, because it has no beginning or end, oneness or unity, even fertility, because it is associated with the womb. Its juxtaposition with the square represents the fusing of heaven and earth. Because of its symbolic richness, the circle has been an important element in religion, magic and alchemy. The magic circle, for example, is often used for ritual purification or protection. Symbols that are sometimes used to represent the circle include the egg, unity, pomegranate, fertility, and the infinity symbol, infinity. Mysticism is the overwhelming feeling or sense of being in complete unity or oneness with the deity or the cosmos. In the religious sense, it is the feeling of oneness with God. In paganism, it means the feeling of complete unity with a deity. In witchcraft, it is the feeling of a unity with the goddess, god or nature. It can also be the sense of mystical knowledge. Dionysus, the Areopagite, was the first to introduce the concept of unknown knowing to the Western world. In the areas of the occult and psychic, it denotes the additional domain of esoteric knowledge and paranormal communication. Pythagoras. A Greek philosopher of 6th century BC who founded a school and a philosophical system, Pythagoreanism, named after him. Born on the Greek island of Samos, off of the coast of Asia Minor, he migrated as an adult to the Greek city-state of Croton in the southern Italy about 530 BC. As a teacher and a leader, Pythagoras possessed extraordinary charisma. In Croton, he established a society or a brotherhood of religious ethical orientation. Within its initiates, the society fostered strong bonds of friendship and feelings of elitism through ritual, esoteric symbolism, and a code of righteous self-control that included taboos. The basis of those teachings was ethical, religious, and mystical. He believed in metamorphosis, the concept that the soul, both human and animal, passes from one body to another body. It is uncertain whether metempsychosis. Metempsychosis. It is uncertain whether metempsychosis included the belief in immortality of the soul or not. However, the concept provided the rationale for many of the practices within the society, which included vegetarianism and ritual purification, which were thought to promote superior reincarnation. To the alchemists, Pythagoras is regarded as the father of mathematical mysticism, a role which scholars debate, and several key doctrines, such as the squaring of the circle, are attributed to him. The image below is an example of Pythagorean geometry. Orphism is the teachings of an ancient Greek philosophical cult which exerted great influence over Greek culture and later on Western mysticism and occultism. It began in the 6th century BC and it is attributed to the mystical Orpheus. The chief teachings are of reincarnation, a Greek version of karma, a history of the universe which was formed by Kronos, who formed an egg and created the first king of the gods, whom Zeus supplanted and fathered Dionysus, the divine child. Other teachings are that the body is the prison of the soul, animals are not to be killed or eaten, the good were to be rewarded while the evil were to be punished in the netherworld, and the teachings of self-denial and seriousness in religious matters. Apollo was the kindred god who demanded purification and righteousness. Orphism had a great impact on alchemy. Originally, the Philosopher's Stone was believed to be the chemical that changed base metals into silver or gold. Often it was termed the power of projection. It was first mentioned by Zosimos the Theban in the 3rd century. Throughout the generations, the Philosopher's Stone has taken on an immense range of powers. Not only has it been called the secret of life and health, but also possessing spiritual significance. The notion of its spiritual qualities expanded until in the 13th century, a program evolved that led the alchemists through a strict devotional ritual and purification. After completing the ceremony, he was thought worthy to perform his activities. Eventually, the Philosopher's Stone was thought to be the signifying force, to signify the force behind evolution of life and the universal binding power which unites minds and souls in human oneness. Finally, it represented the purity and sanctity of the highest realm of pure thought and altruistic existence. Can I save here? I can. Okay, so because I think I'll just spend the next episode like reading everything I can find. Although I'm already kind of lost. Where was I? I was reading. I guess I might read about the Wandering Jew. I'll just go through, all entries that I can find, which I very much think might include most of the next episode, given how much text is there. But for now, this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.